Hey everybody, my name's Kyle and this is Track by Track, music reviews, news, and commentary. Every year in December I look back at all the music that I've added to my collection over the past 12 months and try to pick out my top 10. Usually there's a few albums that are easy to rank as best of the year, but there's always another dozen or more that are all vying for a coveted spot in the top 10. 2017 was no different. If you go and you watch my Best Albums of 2017 video, you'll see my top 10 for the year. And I have to say, for about half of them, it was a hard decision to make. There were plenty of other really solid albums that I could have made a strong case to include on that list. But I had to narrow it down to just 10, and I'm happy with the 10 that I ended up with. I don't want to completely ignore the music that didn't make the cut, though. Even though those albums didn't make the top 10, there's still music that I'd recommend without hesitation. So in this video, I'm bringing you 5 albums that I think deserve honorable mention. Don't think of these necessarily as the albums that I'd rank 11 through 15 though. I'm not even going to present them in any particular order. These are just 5 more albums from 2017 that I think are worth your time. And unlike a few from my top 10, I've never reviewed any of these on my channel before. If you haven't already, I hope you'll check them out. I'll include order links in the description below, which also helps to support this channel. Alright, the first 2 albums that I want to highlight are both by new artists. In certain ways, I think new artists have a better shot at impressing listeners than established artists do. When you pick up an album by a band that's been around for a while, you probably have some kind of expectations about how that album will sound and what it's going to take for you to like it. And because of that baggage, sometimes an artist that you've listened to for years may not impress you as much with their new music. You may feel like you've kind of heard it before. Some fans don't mind that familiarity, but others want to hear their favorite acts raise the bar with every album. As a result, you may be more prone to disappointment with acts that you already know, whereas with new artists, your expectations are much lower. On top of that, listening to a new artist can also be refreshing. And that's kind of how Ninet hit me with her album, Paper Parachute. Ninet is a female rocker from Israel, where she's released 4 albums and actually been quite successful. In her home country, she's shared the stage with international acts as wide-ranging as the Jesus and Mary Chain, Cyndi Lauper, and Robbie Williams. In early 2017, she released her first album in the US, and I gotta say, it was a real breath of fresh air. There's so much power in both the vocals and the music, and Ninet's heritage really gives the album a unique feel that's simultaneously exotic and edgy. Definitely recommended listening. The other new artist that I want to highlight is a female duo from New York called Overcoats. The music on their debut album, Young, is probably best described as electronic, but what really sets it apart is the way that the girls' layered vocals blend together to create a unique, singular soundscape. A good point of reference is the singer Banks. Both Overcoats and Banks seem to be creating similar sonic canvases with their albums, but where Banks' music strikes me as seductive, I get more of a sense of mystery from Overcoats' music. At one moment it's hypnotic, and then the next it's pulsating with driving rhythms. They're definitely one of my favorite discoveries of 2017. Of course, 2017 also brought us lots of music from more established artists, and one of those was Anne Clark, better known by her stage name, St. Vincent. This year brought us her 5th album, the provocatively titled and covered MASSEDUCTION. I must admit, I wasn't listening to St. Vincent's music until the release of her self-titled 4th album in 2014. That record was definitely one of my top 10 for that year. MASSEDUCTION didn't land quite as high in 2017, but it's still easy to recommend. We get more of what made the last album great, along with some curious new experiments as well. You know, there's a lot of talk about how great a guitar player she is, but I think that almost sells St. Vincent short. She's a great vocalist, an inventive songwriter, a talented producer, and on top of all that, a savvy marketer. By the way, this is yet another album that producer Jack Antonoff had his hands on this year. I talk a bit more about that in my Best of the Year video, so be sure to check that out if you haven't already. Next up is perhaps the most ambitious album of the year, 50-song Memoir by The Magnetic Fields. The album is basically exactly what the title implies. It's a 5-disc set, each disc containing 10 songs, and each song reflecting a single year in the singer's 50 years of life. That singer, of course, is Stephen Merritt, who's made his tales of coming of age and coming out of the closet central themes throughout this 50-song cycle. And by linking the songs to certain periods of time, we also get a lot more context to the lyrics. Now, at 2.5 hours long, it may not be an album that you'll listen to straight through very often, but then neither was the group's 1999 masterpiece, 69 Love Songs. and that album clocked in at nearly 3 hours. Finally, we have an album that's almost a guilty pleasure for me, and that's Hopeless Fountain Kingdom by Halsey. This is an album and an artist that, as a member of Generation X, I'm probably supposed to hate. After all, my teenage daughter and all her friends like Halsey. And that's fine, that's probably her target audience, girls that shop at Hot Topic or something. So if I like Halsey's music, I'll probably fall somewhere along the spectrum between Cool Dad and Creepy Dad, I guess. But look, I was a fan of her first album 2 years ago, and probably before MTV had her on rotation. To me, that album felt like where, say, Lorde might have gone as a follow-up to Pure Heroin. On Hopeless Fountain Kingdom, Halsey continues down the same path she blazed with Badlands. The result is better production than her debut, but not quite as engaging. Still, I have to admit, it was a surprisingly enjoyable listen. So there you go, 5 solid albums that I think deserve honorable mention among the many solid albums released in 2017. Have you listened to any of these? What did you think of them? What are your honorable mention albums? The ones that didn't quite make your best of the year list, but you like them just the same. Let me know in the comments below. And if you haven't done so already, be sure to check out my top 10 video right here on this channel. Before you go, don't forget to click the thumbs up icon if you want to see more videos like this. Better still, be sure to click subscribe, because true music fans always want new releases the day they come out. Once again, my name's Kyle, this is Track by Track. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.